This is the Dark Matters podcast. This is Genghis Khan. Previously on episode 2, we saw the alliance between Temujin and Jamuka collapse. The two wolves clash, and Temujin is defeated in the Battle of Delan Balzut. He regroups and fights Jamuka again at the Battle of Chakimut, where he defeats his rival and forces him to flee west to the Naimans. After these decisive victories, Temujin would align once more with Ong Khan, and together they would destroy the Tartars and conquer the eastern steppes. After these major victories, and with his military influence growing, Temujin would approach his mentor with one wish. He asked for Ong Khan's daughter to marry his son Jochi. This alliance is strategic, and by Temujin asking for his son to marry into the Kerid, he could unify both armies as one. They now control the central and eastern steppes, and the only rivals left are the Naimans and Jamuka to the west. Ong Khan loves Temujin like a son, and would do anything for his young protege. But with Temujin's meteoric rise throughout the steppes, Ong's advisors fear he has grown too powerful. They believe that if the two tribes married, that conflict would arise between traditional values and Temujin's new streamlined way of thinking. Put simply, the Kerids viewed Temujin as a threat, and threats must be dealt with on the steppes. This would lead the great Ong Khan to do the unthinkable. He lays a trap for his prodigal son. He agrees to the wedding and invites Temujin to a feast to celebrate. The plan is simple: get him drunk and ambush him at the dinner party. Temujin's advisors smell a rat and warn their leader of a possible trap. Heeding the warning, Temujin feigns illness and instead sends two men in his place to the feast. When Temujin fails to arrive at the dinner party, Ong's advisors know that the game is up. The Kerids scramble together an elite army. They must strike immediately if they are any chance to conquer Temujin's Mongols. But once again, the master of the mountains has the drop on his rivals. He is deeply saddened by the betrayal of his mentor, the man he looked up to, and the man that helped him build his empire. Temujin moves his army deep into the mountains and he takes the high ground. Here, he deploys a deadly rearguard of soldiers before placing scouts every few kilometers across the steppes. The Kerid army are desperate, and they have already lost the element of surprise. They charge in blind and meet Temujin's rear guard. Arrows fly and horses clash in the fiery battle, and thousands of men are killed. The Kerids overpower the rear guard and use a tight formation to advance their position. But after fighting alongside Ong Khan for many years, Temujin knew his attacks inside out. He uses a false retreat tactic before regrouping and attacking the flanks of Ong Khan. Although he is outnumbered, Temujin's Mongols fight with such ferocity and violence rarely seen on the steppes. He breaks the Kerids with a spear formation, and Ong Khan flees and abandons his own army. Ong Khan is later killed in a case of mistaken identity. The remaining Kerid soldiers surrender and join Temujin's horde. This is one of the biggest moments in Temujin's campaign. With his tactical brilliance and charisma, he has now conquered the Tartars and the Kerids. He now has control over the eastern and central steppes. Temujin now marches west, ready to battle the Naimans. Word travels fast along the steppes, and Temujin's warfighting ability becomes the stuff of legend. Defeated enemies describe his army as almost supernatural. and many believe he uses shamans and wartime rituals against his rivals. The Naimans nervously await Temujin's arrival, and they are led by Tayang Khan. Jamuka advises Tayang about the dangers of fighting Temujin. When speaking of Temujin, he notices fear in Tayang Khan's eyes, and in a final act of respect, Jamuka sends a message to his long-lost brother. He tells Temujin that Tayang Khan is afraid, and victory is his. And with that message, Jamuka abandons Tayang Khan and the Naimans. He is joined by a small group of loyal followers. After fighting Temujin for years, I believe that Jamuka knew the Naimans would be no match for Temujin's horde of Mongols. Temujin would arrive at the Altai Mountains on the border of the western steppes, and the loosely organised Naimans were no match for the master of the mountain. He breaks them wide open with a tight formation and well-drilled outfit. Tayang Khan is killed and his son flees. The remaining Naimans lay down their weapons and surrender. They join Temujin's horde. Jamuka and his followers watch the battle from the sidelines, and when Temujin is victorious, his own men arrest him and take him to Temujin. Even though they are sworn enemies, they still respect each other. Temujin kills the men who arrested Jamuka, as he viewed their betrayal to their leader as a sign of cowardice. He offers Jamuka a truce. With their past history and friendship, he wishes to leave the rivalry in the past. Pridefully, Jamuka declines and simply asks for one wish: to be killed respectfully and without bloodshed. Temujin agrees, and his childhood best friend is strangled with a rope. In 1206, a Kuratali is called, and Temujin is declared Genghis Khan, ruler of all the Mongols. The orphan of the steppes was able to do what no man before him could. He unites all the Mongol tribes together and becomes the most feared warlord in human history. Dark Matters out.